you, John Harper. It's always great to be here on the radio Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. right here on 90.3 WEJF. And welcome if you're listening online as well at WEJF.net. And hello if you are catching this as a podcast, because we always make sure each of our broadcasts are put out as fast as possible onto every place you find a good podcast. Everything from Apple iTunes to Amazon to Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, you'll find Helping Seniors Radio there. Why? Because it's our mission as a 501c3, fancy word for a nonprofit, that Joe Steckler founded literally almost 15 years ago now. And his idea was that we needed a place that would provide seniors with good access and their families to information that's going to help them on their aging journey. And you have to understand that Joe, as he was a retired Navy captain. His last command in the Navy, he did all these fancy things. He drove submarines. He, commanded submarines, or whatever the right term for that is called. Then he was in the Pentagon, but his last command in the Navy was that he was in charge of the Navy's retirement home in Gulfport, Mississippi. And I think it gave him a lifelong passion for seniors. And so when he and his lovely wife, Terry, moved over here to retire to Satellite Beach, they wanted to be near the Air Force Base, now the Space Force Base. Joe simply couldn't stay retired, so immediately he gets to work. He starts a bunch of work with creating the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, which to this day does so much good work in this county. In fact, we're excited. We're going to be out on site with them. They do a big car raffle every year to keep their organization going. Theirs actually winds up April 26th, Saturday, April 26th at the American Muscle Car Museum. So look for us out there. We're going to be enjoying and finding out maybe if we win a car. You never know what's going to happen. But we also do our car raffle. Ours is the big fall event, and that is a brand new car, and it comes up on Sunday, October 26th. I want you to get that in your calendar. But the point of this is Joe had built up the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, and they call them Joe's Clubs to this day. There's 3 of them in our county. And when I met Joe, as he was getting this whole thing started, and John Harper, who is actually president of the organization, he actually goes all the way back with Joe. He was helping Joe when Joe was getting the Brevard Alzheimer's going, has been helping seniors since the day we got started. But Joe said, when I met him, he said, there's more that I've learned that we have to do for seniors. He said, I realize a lot of seniors have issues with memory care, but he said, every senior has issues and they need help and their family needs help. And he said, I learned that. I saw that people were still stuck in so many areas. And that's why we got to create Helping Seniors Brevard. So here we are 15 years later. Last year, we took 4,000 plus phone calls on our Senior Information Helpline. It's a free call, 321-473-7770. I'm going to give you a second, grab a pencil so you can jot that number down. It is 321-473-7770. And there's a lovely lady. We have like the best people in the planet in the radio studio today, because one of the best people on the planet, her name is Karen Wernlund. She has a lot of experience. She was a caregiver herself, has had her own company called Emerald Care Management. She's been on the board of directors for Helping Seniors for a bunch of years, but was also kind enough to step in and say, we've got to get, when they donated this beautiful office space over in Craig DeLegdish's Omni healthcare building right there next to the hospital, a couple of blocks over on South Apollo, beautiful 4-story building. And he said, I want to help you guys get Joe's vision going. Let's get the Senior Resource Center established. Gave us a big space on the 2nd floor there. And so Karen said, I'll help get this whole thing organized. And not only, Karen, have you been helping us run the phones and everything, but you also built up an amazing team of volunteers. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Kerry. It's great to be here. Do I get to introduce my neighbors right here?
I think that would be amazing. Kathy and Adrian are like gold, but I mean, yeah, you do the honors.
All right. So on my right hand, closest to me, is Kathy Palmer, and next to her is Adrian. Why can't I think? Christy. I can't think of her last name right now. Adrian Christy, I knew that. And they are with me each and every Thursday, and we are at the resource center, and we are doing so many different things. So we answer the phones, we give out resources, but they've also started a new program called Stay Connected, which actually our founder, Joe Steckler, wanted to create back when COVID first arrived, and it didn't quite work out back then, so the girls were going to call it something else, but then when they found out that Joe had named it Stay Connected, they wanted to change it to Stay Connected. So I want to welcome you both here to the station. Say hi.
Hello, good morning, or good afternoon.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. You know, the mission of helping seniors is real simple. It's to educate, inform, and connect seniors and their families to resources that are going to make a difference. And so Joe always called it a hurricane plan. Joe always called it an aging plan. I said, oh, it's like a hurricane plan. Well, sometimes you can have a hurricane in aging because there's just so many things that can hit you at one time. And remember, the point of making a plan for a hurricane or for aging doesn't mean you want to have problems. It means you want to be prepared to tackle anything that might come up along the way. So what do they tell us, when we get into that time of year about hurricane planning and say, okay, are you going to evacuate? Are you going to seal up your house? Are you going to make sure you have bottled water? All the things they tell us to do. Well, aging is kind of in the same family. There are things that you could run into along the way, and hopefully you don't. But isn't it always better? It was originally the scouting motto, be prepared. Isn't it better to have a little bit of a sense of that? And I think that was one of the things that Joe saw is when people would call with these questions, and Karen, you're really a great person to kind of speak to this. A lot of times we're there to help no matter what the case is, but isn't it a lot better when somebody calls and, well, I'm going to be hitting this like 3 months down the road and I'm trying to figure out some resources rather than, well, I got to do something this afternoon. You just have more options and more ways to help, right?
Unfortunately, the latter is pretty much the norm. We do occasionally get, like yesterday I did get a client call in who does have 30 days to find new housing. So that made me feel great because it gives her a chance to reach out. But most people, they get so tied up with the negative part about being moved out of their apartment or their house or whatever their situation is that they're sort of frozen. It's hard for them to find.
It's scary, right?
And by the time they reach out, they have 3 minutes left.
Yeah, this is a serious point. We get calls. We probably should have said that a little bit earlier on. We get calls about everything: housing, legal, medical, financial, transportation, you name it. Our team has probably had a call on it at some point, but it does seem like the housing stuff particularly has kind of jumped really into a forefront kind of thing for a couple of years because so many seniors have been getting squeezed out simply because they're on fixed incomes, but apparently rents are not, and so, it's a whole lot better when somebody calls you and you have a chance to go through it. And I think that's why Joe was always so serious about making an aging plan, because the point of that is then you're starting to allocate and figure out like, okay, this is what I might need down the road if this situation occurs. And so a lot of the problems are that, you have to look through it. And Joe has always talked about being careful to not outlive your money and things like that. And one of the things that has become really part and parcel of what we try to do with helping seniors is our education program too. So we're taking the phone calls. We're always encouraging people to call as early as they can. We'll try to help in any situation, but you have to understand when you walk in with a situation at the last minute, there's precious few options, and they're probably very near and dear and expensive. And just think, if you could just rewind that clock 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, start working on this, you're going to have a lot more. You're going to have a lot more options. There are probably going to be some more cost-effective options. And I know at the very least your stress level has got to be better, right? Because when you're up against a wall, that's not a fun place to be, Karen.
So I wanted to ask both of you ladies to share what your experience has been on the phone. Had you learned anything? Do you enjoy being a volunteer with me?
We love being a volunteer. Yes, we do. And we're still learning. Still learning. Every week is something different, and it's nice to be able to help.
Yeah, Kathy, you know, what you guys do is so important because that was always a vision that Joe had was he said, I really want to get the community involved because, you know, they make this statement all the time. It takes a village to raise kids. But I really think it takes all of us working together to solve the problems that come up as a senior. And I am always surprised. I always said to Joe, if we remember that childhood book, A Little Engine That Could, I always feel like that's like the story of helping seniors. We only exist because people support our work and help us do the work. But I am surprised because it's not like we can write checks to people or solve, you know, we're not a government entity. We don't have access to resources or things like that. But sometimes just knowing the right place to call can make a difference. And also, I wanted to ask you this, just having a friendly voice to talk to when you've got a problem. Sometimes it just helps you think it out. I mean, do one of you guys want to talk a little bit about maybe a success story where you felt like you were really able to make a difference? Kathy? Adrian's pointing at you.
Well, a lot of times they'll call in, and it's all of a sudden they realize that they got old. They're a senior,
sure,
and they just don't know what to do. And just a few kind words, and even just referring them to a couple things, it's like, oh, thank you so much. I never realized. That's all it takes, really.
Yeah, Adrian, I want to ask this question because one of the things I know that you guys all as a team under Karen's direction have done, and this is so important. You guys have a book of resources that you are constantly working on to make sure it's updated. I tell this story a lot that we had gotten a published guide from a very excellent charity here in town. I mean, they do so much good work. And they had printed this in September, and we're just sending it around, I think, in February or something, and saying, here's our list of resources in Brevard County that will help in these particular cases. So I sent a copy over to Karen, and I said we should make sure that we have all these resources cataloged in our book. And so Karen starts to go through it, and you know what? It's a great book, but even as she's going through it, she said, well, this program has already stopped this. And so it was already outdated, even though they probably did their absolute best in September. But you guys work so hard to make sure that that is the best possible information at any given moment. Adrian, talk a little bit. say something about your role in just helping keep the team keep that updated.
Stay connected. That's become a baby for us.
Sure.
We get to talk, and we're making friends, even though it's just over the phone. And some of these people that are on our list to call, which is we usually do it every Thursday.
Yep.
They have no one that checks on them or calls, and they're so happy just to have somebody to talk to. And sometimes they'll just talk and talk because they've had nobody all week or all month or whatever. And this one lady, we called her as usual every Thursday. She answers the phone. Happy Thursday. They look forward to our calls.
Of course.
So it makes you feel good. So.
You know, I was going to say years ago, and we're fixing to jump back into this with our friends at the Brevard Commission on Aging. Joe had wanted to do a needs assessment here in Brevard County, trying to see what do seniors self-identify that they say these are my biggest issues. And so we did a survey, and we were talking that we're going to relaunch that this year. We did a survey, I think this was 2014 or 2015, and we wanted to, so it's 10 years, so it's time to redo it. Although here's the surprise, Joe said he had done this in mid-90s, and when we did the survey in 2015, he goes, Kerry, the needs are almost lined up exactly what they were. Nothing has changed. It's the same needs that seniors have. But here's what was surprising. So we're asking, like, what are the needs that you have? Is it medical? Is it housing? What are the issues that are important to you as a senior? And so, of course, the usual suspects are up there. I need money. I need medical. I need this. I need that. So, but one of the things that came up very high, it was in the top 10, and it was kind of surprised me, was the need for socialization. And that was a real surprise because I would have thought, you know, I can think of a lot of things that seniors would need, but they really felt like there needed to be more programs to get them more active in the community. And so, Joe, when COVID hit, that just made that whole thing even worse because they told us stay at home if you want to live. And so we did. And that's what Joe said, we got to do something, because if they felt isolated before, now how is it when you can't even go outside and talk to your neighbor or something?
Most of our phone calls that we've gotten, they were isolated. They were alone. They didn't have family, and they wanted to be able to talk.
They wanted a friend.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what we're
Sally.
doing too is we're encouraging them when we call to come out with the Knowledge College, which is the fourth Thursday of the month. We're encouraging to come out because we
Good.
keep saying, please come. We want to put a face to a name. So we're learning, and we're trying to encourage the other people.
That is actually what brings up something else that you ladies have reminded that we've put together as a volunteer group. So before our educational series, which is the fourth Thursday of every month, we send out an e-blast, and creating the emails for that e-blast, we ended up going through our entire phone log, and those that looked like they were interested in more knowledge, we would call them and ask them if they would like to know about our Knowledge College and Wellness series, and they were like, absolutely. And it's been a joy to it. We do get a lot of the same people out on Thursdays, but I do believe the last one we just had was our highest. I didn't count the amount of people that came out, but I believe it was our highest amount of people that was coming out from the e-blast.
We ran out of chairs.
Yeah, it's a wonderful problem to have. Just so you know what we're talking about, every fourth Thursday, and this is a great thing for you to get on your calendar, is we have called that Senior Education Morning. And yes, it's education, but I don't want you to think like you're having to get out a notebook and a protractor and start drawing, things. This is really, it's good information that is going to help you develop your aging plan, because hopefully if we're doing our part of this right, we're bringing in speakers who are going to add some value and add some knowledge and add some maybe thoughts that you hadn't had before about how to navigate certain things. Because that's really, at the end of the day, what we explain to people. What does our charity do? We do senior navigation. We try to help people successfully get from point A to point B on whatever challenge that they're working on at the time. And so with the Thursday morning, we actually do two back-to-back sessions. The first one is called Knowledge College for Aging. It's geared so that we're hopefully giving you information that is going to help you make a long-term plan. Joe called it an aging plan. We euphemistically call it getting your ducks in a row. But for example, next Thursday, Dr. Rosemary Laird, who is a geriatrician and expert clinical researcher. She works with a group that's very close to us called ClinCloud Clinical Trials. These guys are going to change the game about memory medicines and things like that, because they're involved in a lot of stage 2 trials and things like that. And it seems like there's really some optimistic, some reasons to be very hopeful that we're going to live and see how much effect these medications that they're working on right now are going to do. And it's really going to, I hope, stem the tide of the memory challenge people face. So that's 10 to 11. And then at 11, we do a thing called the Wellness Series. And this is all tips that will help you stay safe and well as you get older. And I'm excited. This Thursday, it's not tomorrow. It is a week from tomorrow. That will be our fourth Thursday. So we have Gabriela Rosario with a company called Family Home Care of Central Florida. And what is particularly unique about them is they're investing a lot of time and effort in a thing called Family Virtual Caregiver. Now, you guys are familiar, I'm sure, with things like the Help I Fallen, I Can't Get Up button, and it's really come a long way since those days. This is what they call passive technology. So what you do, without giving the whole thing away, is they send you some units that you literally plug into your wall, and it's not a camera. It's literally got some technology in it that allows them to kind of monitor the room. If there's a fall, they can pick it up. And she'll go into all the reasons. But we did this on the radio a week or two back, and I was fascinated because she actually brought the unit in. I'm like, this is it? You just plug it in the wall, get it connected to the internet, and you can monitor different rooms in the house. And it was absolutely fascinating.
It's a higher technology that will allow our seniors to remain independent and in their own home and still satisfy the families, the adult children of the parents who are in their 90s, and still satisfy the children that they're being watched. Someone's going to know if they fall. Someone's going to sense. So I think it's a road forward, but I also, Dr. Laird, I wanted to go back to her for just a moment with memory care. So our calls basically for all of this year bounce back and forth as to which one is the most calls for. We either get affordable housing or it's health and it's memory care. And there are so many people out there who are misinformed, and then they're scared that because they just forgot what Adrian's last name was, and so then they think right away that they're coming down with memory issues. So I have talked to quite a few people in the community, and I have a feeling that both of these events are going to be extremely well attended, so we better find some chairs.
Yeah, I do think so. So, by the way, if you're interested in joining us, you call that same number I gave out earlier, 321-473-7770. I'm going to say it one more time. The reason we need to do that is we need to know how many chairs we need, but also there's some good little snacks and things like that, and door prizes too. So it's not only that you're going to learn some things, but it's fun, and we're back to the point that we started about, that it's social. So that number is 321-473-7770. 10 a.m. Basically block 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Come out and join us at the Senior Resource Center. It's 1344 South Apollo Boulevard, right there, just a couple of blocks away from the hospital in the Omni Healthcare building. So we are going to continue our conversation with Karen Wernlund, board member of Helping Seniors of Brevard, but also the Senior Center Director for Joe's Senior Resource Director, and our wonderful volunteers, Kathy and Adrian. We're going to be back and talk more on the second half of the Helping Senior Show, and we want to really get into, I think, a conversation about the difference that we can make through the Stay Connected program. So you'll listen up. It might be for you. It might be for somebody you know and love. So stay tuned for the second half of Helping Seniors Radio.
I think we're going to have a Friday night dance party or something, because so many people love to dance to this music, and we'll have to use that as a fundraiser.
Everybody here is saying, John Harper, that's
a good idea.
It's a great idea. And, we ought to tag up with, isn't there the Melbourne Big Band? They play over at the Melbourne Auditorium.
At the auditorium,
I think a great idea has been born here. Yeah. So we are on the second half of the Helping Seniors radio program, where we gather around the radio lunchtime, 12 noon to 1 p.m. on 90.3 WEJF FM. And if you're listening online, WEJF.net, thank you. And if you're continuing to listen on the podcast, thank you. A lot of people pull the podcast because they may have been listening to the radio show live and say, you know what? This is good information, and Uncle Bob needs to hear this, or something like that. And then they can just send them a link so they can join the conversation too. But the conversation that we are having is about helping seniors volunteers. And not only do we have Karen Wernlund, who's board member and also Joe's Senior Resource Center Director, here with us in the studio. She has brought two of our amazing, wonderful, talented, brilliant, lovely volunteers, Kathy and Adrian, and that's just two of the team. But we're always looking for more good volunteers, right, Karen?
Absolutely. We're looking for more volunteers to help us on the phone lines Monday through Friday for 2 hours each week. And you can call us on that helpline at 321-473-7770. And whomever answers, might even be a volunteer, can help you with any questions that you have about it. It does start with 7 one-on-one with me and the volunteer to get used to our system, because our resources are now up and over 500 and at least 30 different categories. So it's a lot to learn. It's a lot to inhale. And I think that if one of you have a success story you want to talk, maybe Dr. Karen or Jeff. Jeff's interesting just to tell about what he used to do when he was younger.
I know, all I remember is the motorcycle.
And he was rodeo.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And he was, the original call, I think, was for affordable housing. And he's moved a couple times, and he's still looking for something else, but he's not homeless. And he enjoys our phone call every week. And what was it, maybe a month ago, when we called him, it happened to be his birthday, and we sang happy birthday to him. He was ecstatic. He was I think he was almost going to cry because somebody acknowledged his birthday. So that's just one of them.
You know, there's something that you brought up in that, which I think is an important point. I said, you know, when we were talking in the first half, I said people call our Senior Information Helpline. I said a lot of times I always liken it to a football game, and I'm not a big football fan, but see if this analogy makes sense to you. You know, the object in the football game is you run the football down to the end of the field and you score a touchdown. The problem is you can't score a touchdown every time you get out on the field and make a play. So the object of the game is to keep advancing the ball towards the touchdown. And if you run, 10 yards down the field, they give you another first down, which gives you another set of opportunities to keep running the ball down the field. So eventually you wind up with a touchdown. And what I feel like the work that you guys do, you're always helping people advance towards some kind of a touchdown, which in our world would be that you got them to a good solution where things are stable and then they can move along with life a little bit peacefully. Does that make sense how I'm saying that?
Yes, it does. Sometimes it's not the first solution, but you just keep working on it. It gets better and better, and they're appreciative, and they enjoy whatever we can do for them.
Yeah.
Actually, just a friendly voice on the phone.
Right.
Yeah, Kathy. Well, that's a thing that's kind of, I think, valuable to understand too. Is that when we help them advance, people say, well, there's a good referral line. People call 211, and it's a great service, and they will try to do their best to keep things moving too. But the people say, are you guys like them? I said, well, on a really good day, we can just give them a number and say, have a nice life. But it doesn't. Usually there's a lot of back and forth, and you guys continue to try to help them as they try to work through their challenges. Am I saying that right?
Yes, and there's so many challenges. One lady wanted to know where she could go to have her income tax done. Another one needed a notary notary. They need affordable housing. They need a caregiver. Finally, they're taking care of a parent that they never realized they'd be at this point. It's just so many questions and so much resource information that we're able to pass along.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have to interject really quickly here since you brought it up.
The notary.
Yes, so now at Helping Seniors of Brevard, there is a notary public on duty, and that would be me, Karen Wernlund. So if you need notary assistance, you would want to call first to make sure I'm in the house, and then it's just a small donation, whatever you please. And so thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, you're welcome.
So let's go back to, during the break we were talking a little bit about how many seniors in Brevard County need help. And I said, that's a statistic we probably ought to work on getting a better answer than I'm able to give right now. But I always tell people whenever we go out and we talk about the work of helping seniors, there's a couple of points that I want people to understand. First, when Joe started this 15 years ago, he was such a visionary because there are not less seniors, there are way more seniors now, and it's going to keep going that way. Why? There's three factors right here in Brevard County, and you got to remember, we are 100% local to Brevard County. We exist for no other reason than helping the folks who are right here at home on the Space Coast. And so with that kind of as a background, so let's talk about this. First of all, more people are turning 65 every day than ever have been because that whole boomer wave and everything that's been going on there. So we're just getting more seniors in on the younger end. But the other flip side is It used to be unusual if somebody lived to be 100. It's not unusual these days. So what's happening is we are getting way more seniors on the upper end as well, with the advances of technology and medical treatments and the things that we're doing seem to move us in the right direction. So life expectancy is just going up and up. And so we get more seniors on the upper end. And then, of course, being in Florida, they like our sunshine. So we get all these people who want to come to Florida. So the senior population just keeps growing. And then this is the statistic that I always like to quote is like, if you come to Brevard County, 1 in 4 is over the age of 65. So 25% of the population is over the age of 65. And then if you want to use AARP's definition, which is they will send you a membership card when you turn 50, whether you're insulted or not, they're going to call you a senior. They will send you that card, call you a senior, but in Brevard County, 1 of 2 of us is over the age of 50. 1 in 2.
Wow.
So a line that I often say is in Brevard County, you either are a senior, love and care for a senior, or give yourself a year or two and you too will be a senior. And then here's the other thing. Because the third thing we do in helping seniors, remember we have the Senior Information Helpline. We try to do the education programs. The third thing we try to do is advocate for seniors. And people are often surprised at this statistic as well. The statistic is that we love our kids here in Brevard County. We want them to have the absolute best opportunity to do well with education. So whenever we pay a property tax bill, even if you're a renter, your landlord is paying a property tax bill, we do all that, and there's a huge chunk of the county's budget that goes into schools. Think about it. You got to pay the teachers, you got to pay the bus system, you got to pay the people who are keeping the kids safe when they're crossing the street, you got the lunch program, all that stuff is happening in our county budget. But on top of that, we love our kids so much in Brevard County, we all voted that we want to pay a half-cent extra every time we go shopping. Every time we go shopping. Everything we buy, whether it's a car, it's a boat, it's a grocery shopping, it's going to Walmart, wherever we go, we want to pay an extra half-cent tax specifically earmarked to making the public school system as strong as it can be for kids in Brevard. So all that's worthy, and we spend a lot for kids. So let's spin it around and ask the question, how much do we spend as a county in a $2 billion budget on seniors? The answer is less than 1/10 of 1%. Now, if you ask anybody who works for the county, say, well, you're a little bit overstating your case because seniors use the roads, they use the fire department, they use the sheriff's department, they use the libraries, they use the parks. Right. But my argument back then is, yes, but what are the programs specifically designed for seniors? Like we have programs specifically designed for kids under 18. What do we have specifically for seniors? And the answer is you get a blank stare back. Now, what makes this a little bit more important to think about is the fact that if you want to do a population study, we have more seniors over 65 than we do children under 18 in our county. So let that sink in for a minute. It just says to me, as a county, we have a lot of room to grow. We want Brevard County to be known as the place that knows how to look after seniors. But we have a lot more work to do, and I think that's what Joe was trying to encourage us all to keep. We lost Joe in January, and then we also lost his lovely wife, Terry, just a month ago. So they've both gone on to be with the Lord. But the work that they inspired us to do is more important than ever for just that reason, I think. So, so what I wanted to kind of bring this back around, when you guys, Adrian and Kathy, you volunteer your time at helping seniors, you're doing something that's making a difference because there aren't as many resources as there should be for seniors in our county.
We see that.
I just happened to think of something else. We get a lot of phone calls for people need transportation because you reach a certain age and you can't drive anymore. And one lady called. She was having chemo. She needed a ride for her chemo. Another lady, she just couldn't drive anymore. And the people need these services, and we're happy to give the information that we have available to them.
Yeah.
I would like to add one little thing to that. So if your ride that you need is directly to a chemotherapy appointment, reach out to the American Cancer Society. They will get you there and home.
Yeah, can I say this about what Karen just added to what Kathy was saying? This is so important because a lot of times people think, well, the only people that call helping seniors are people who are totally destitute, have no other place to turn to. And that can be the case. We're happy to help anybody at any time. But the reality of it is that you'll find that many people have plenty of resources. They just don't know where to begin. And I've always said this a lot of times because I sit on a government organization called the Brevard Commission on Aging, which is sanctioned by the Brevard County Commissioners. And our job is to try to advocate for seniors more with them. And so that's led up under the leadership of Dr. Potomsky, who's an excellent geriatrician himself. But we talk about this a lot, that you could have the best program designed to help somebody, but if the person doesn't know it exists, it's not going to help them. Right. And that's why, Karen, the work that you and the volunteers do to pull together this, I guess I call it, really valuable body of knowledge to help people, you know, you're guiding them to programs that people don't know about, Karen.
Absolutely. And that changes every single day, pretty much by hour. I graduated from college in 2018, and one of my professors who became my favorite in psychology, she shared with us, she would give us these great lectures on diseases of the mind and so on and so forth, and the reactions of the personalities. And then each and every time we left the room, she would say, and by the way, as you leave out that door right now, everything I told you has changed. And that is exactly the way our resources are. Just yesterday, somebody told us about some financial calls that he tried to make and couldn't get through. And being that it was financial, it kind of made me nervous because that's, you know, people need good phone numbers on that one. So I cleaned that one up real quick. So I went out, you call every single resource we have, and we find out who's no longer there. And one of our resources had closed an office up in the Titusville area. So I needed to give out a closer in the Cocoa area. It's at least close enough to still help. So those resources change. And it's our job to make sure that they're the most current. And the other thing that I felt was very interesting, you were mentioning before, Kerry, about 211, which is a necessary resource in our community. But I did want to share that actually 211 will recommend helping seniors of Brevard as a resource because they know we're getting our name out there. They know that we're trying to give the best resources that we can. And I could not do it without my beautiful volunteers. We have a team of 10. They all work extremely hard. I would like to make it a team of 15. So if you're interested in being a volunteer, I did want the girls to share one more thing. Is so our at the American Muscle Car Museum, when we give away that car, is it fun to work that event, girls?
Oh my gosh, it was an all-day thing, and it was so much fun. And I met so many people, and everybody was just happy to be there.
What a great day that is. That is our main fundraiser for the Helping Seniors World, is we do the car raffle that Joe established together with his good buddy AJ Hires of all the Boniface Hires car dealerships. And so they've been working together, actually going back to Brevard Alzheimer's days. But Joe established a program for helping seniors. It literally is about half of our budget. And thank you for bringing that up, because you can get a ticket. One of the ways you can do it is you can pop by the office right there, the Senior Resource Center. You can also call us at 321-473-7770. They'll get you set up with a ticket, or you can order a ticket online or a couple of tickets online at helpingseniorscarraffle.com. And then make sure you have that date, Sunday, October 25th. We have a big fun time out at the museum, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. that Sunday afternoon. It's going to be a terrific time. So what I want to kind of bring us back around to, because I really wanted to ask you guys as the volunteers, Adrian, if I could put you on the spot, I would like to ask you to say something to somebody who's listening and who might be thinking like, I might want to volunteer. Is this worth me giving up some time to do? What would you say to somebody to try to encourage them to give y'all a call and say, join our team?
Okay, I'll try. Volunteering really is a gift that you give yourself. It is, it's precious, and people don't understand that, but I've volunteered for many years, and there's no words to express what it feels like in one's heart when they do for someone else. If you've got any problems or troubles, that's the best thing to do, is get out there and volunteer, because you get your eyes off of your problems and you see that there's people that need love.
Yeah. Oh, that's so rich. That is so important. You know, what you've done for the least of me is what my Bible says, least of them. Kathy, what about you? What would you say to somebody along the same lines? If somebody's saying like, is this a good organization? Should I get involved with this? Should I take some of my time?
Yes, and yes. You just meet so many wonderful people, and I'm learning myself. I'm a senior, and I'm constantly learning every week something new. And I'm going back to Knowledge College, which is the fourth Thursday of the month. Mm-hmm. When you come, you get to meet all these resources that we recommend, or the information we give to you. They set up tables. You get to meet them. They're knowledgeable. They know current what's going on, and it's you just feel good.
And they know what you'll need going down the road.
Oh, I love that you guys brought that up, because I always give her the credit for this. I heard this from Amy B. Van Fossen, who is one of our top elder law attorneys, and she always has this statement that when she meets people in their office, they come in and they're explaining their problem. And for them, it's like the first time, maybe the second time in their lifetime that they've ever had to deal with something this serious. And she goes, Kerry, we're working with 20 or 30 of these every week, and we've been doing this for 20 years. She said, there's not much somebody can come in and say, here's what's going on, that we don't know how to make some kind of a difference. And to that point, I was going to say this to you, Karen. I was thinking about how blessed our family was to meet Joe back in the day when he started this, because we didn't know it, but our mothers were going through their aging journeys, and so we were caretakers for our moms. And the very fact, because when you're a caretaker or you're in that situation, you think you're the only person in the world going through this. Yes. And then when there's somebody says, no, this is what you could try about this, it's like brings you all kinds of peace of mind. Karen, would you talk about how fulfilling
So
that was?
I actually have to say that mine all began with caretaking of my dad for 8 years, the remaining 8 years of his life, and I never went to a caregiver support group, and I'm telling you, I was so wrong, because at the end of 8 years, now I had to figure out how to care for myself. So one of the resources that we can share with you are several caregiver groups in the area that will help us, and as we go through aging with our parents, we're aging ourselves, and we just need to remember that love that Adrian was talking about, we also need to give it to ourselves as we care for those that we love.
Yes.
That is so well said. Well, we're almost we're running toward the end of the time that we have. I want to talk. We were talking about how busy our schedule is these days. There are just so many events popping. I want to remind you of something that's going on literally this afternoon, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Look for Nancy Deerdorf, who is our Director of Development. She's on site with some good friends of ours from like Vicki Moore and Kara Davis with Moore Insurance Solutions, because there is a health fair, community health fair going on this afternoon, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. over in that direction. So make sure you get that on your calendar. If you're out and about Saturday morning, let me tell you about a great Saturday morning out. Our friend Bill Antonetz, who is a car He's just a car nut. He has a beautiful classic Chevy himself, but he is a great, great friend of seniors because not only does he organize a lot of the area's car shows, but he also does car shows at senior living facilities so the people who can't get out can actually also come and see some of these beautiful cars right in where they're living, and then take them for rides in the car. It's just great. But Saturday morning, 8 a.m. to 12 noon, Karen, you're going to be there this week. We're going to be out for the Duncan Car Show.
Yes, I am going to be there, and I have invited all my volunteers to come and harass me while I'm there. So if you have any questions about becoming a volunteer, you can come right up and talk face-to-face, because I think maybe 4 or 5 of them have decided they will come harass me.
No, that would be wonderful. So the Duncan Car Show is a fun thing. It's beachside. It's in the Atlantic at the Duncan, basically between the two causeways. Bill always gets like 250, 300 cars. Everything from the most high-end. Sometimes Doug Flutie will bring out his Batmobile car. That always gets so much attention. But there's everything from Lamborghinis to Ferraris, and then there's just really cool classic cars as well. So it's just a fun Saturday morning out. And we'll have a Helping Seniors raffle car out, and you can get your Helping Seniors raffle tickets, like we were talking about earlier, on site as well. So we've got all that going on. And then, like we were talking about earlier, please don't miss next Thursday. We're talking about not tomorrow, week from tomorrow. You want to join us at the Senior Resource Center for the Knowledge College for Aging and Wellness Series, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. So call us at 321-473-7770 and get the information about all of that. So Karen Wernlund, board member and Senior Center Director for Joe's Senior Resources, and also Kathy and Adrian, thank you guys for being here today and sharing.
We enjoyed it. Thank you.
So grateful for you.
It was my pleasure. I was so happy to have my volunteers next to me.
We're her favorites.
I love it.
Well, in this room, you're my favorite.
I love it. It's good. Great people doing great work for helping seniors. I know Joe was smiling over the banister of heaven going, come on, guys, keep it going, keep it going. And we will keep it going. We will see you next Wednesday right back here, 12 noon to 1 p.m. for the next edition of Helping Seniors Radio right here on 90.3 WEJFM. See you then.